some of those guys, right, they died peacefully in their sleep, but will there be justice? You know what I mean? Will they get what they deserve?
No one really knows.
Okay.
I think that's the greatest mystery of life, of what is after this. I am
Sure.
you're coming from a Christian perspective. I am an atheistic Satanist. And I
Okay.
have no problem with Christians. I have no problem with Muslims. As long as you use your religion for peace for you, and you define that peace for you, and then you can share that peace and kindness to others, I have no problem. But it's when people, I hate to use the word bastardize religion,
Sure.
and they distort it for hate and anger. And that's every religion. You know, there's Christian cults that are this close to flying planes into buildings, you know. And it's a scary time.
Sure.
But it's...
So I'm coming from a Christian perspective. You're coming from the atheistic Satanist perspective. But it sounds like we do have some common ground, though, and that we're able to say that there's some things that are actually wrong. You know, there's injustice, no matter what religion someone professes, right? There's evil, wicked things, and that, you know, actually there is judgment deserved. How do you, if there is no God, if nothing happens after death, how do you account for there being things that are objectively right or wrong?
You just have to hold them accountable here. If you have a friend doing something wrong and you don't call them out, you're is equally wrong in that. You know, it's guilty by association, unfortunately. But if you have a friend doing something wrong, or a family member, anyone, and you're like, hey, you know, like if someone would just go on a racist tirade right now, I'd be like, dude, like that's not welcome. You just need to go. You just, like, and unfortunately, as a white man,
Sure.
I feel we have to do more of that in this country instead of what's going on, where people are like, well, you know, and they try to make excuses, and and it's you have to hold them accountable, because unless they know that that's not acceptable, because the moment you start making excuses for bad behavior, you're just condoning that bad behavior.
But who determines what is right and wrong? Do we determine that?
Yes.
Okay.
But what's morally acceptable in this country, you know, like, you know, and that's cultures. You know, there's a lot of people like, well, you know, in these countries, like, that's not our country, though. Like, we don't have a say. You know, it's different cultures. You know, it's, and granted, you go, because you could look at every country. You know, people are like, well, you know, the Nazis, you know, they had internment camps. It's like, would you like to talk about what we did to the Japanese?
But that was their, you know,
we also had internment camps, and now we're sending people to foreign countries, and it's like I don't feel comfortable with that, because it's very reminiscent of 1930s Germany. It's a scary time, especially when you have kids. It's like, how do I explain to them that anybody can just be taken off the street and sent to a country they've never been to?
So it sounds like what you're saying is that it's sort of majority vote, in depending on what culture you're in.
And
so
I feel like a lot of cultures, there's a common base of what people know is right and wrong. You know,
but what about cultures where you're, you know, there are many countries in this world where you're allowed to beat your wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
not
acceptable.
But that's okay in their culture, though.
Yeah.
Does that make it okay?
No.
So what makes it actually wrong?
I guess it's just how you are as a person.
What do you mean by that?
So, like, I don't agree with violence unless it's a necessity. You know, so beating your wife or beating your kids just because you had a bad day at work, or you're an alcoholic, or like whatever is causing that, that's not acceptable, because it's what ultimately is that going to result in, besides teaching, you know, if you beat your wife in front of your kid, you're just teaching your kid it's okay to beat your wife.
I think I would struggle to answer the question as well if there is no God. It's easier for me because, you know, God has told us what's right and wrong in His Word, but I think that deep down, it sounds like you really do believe that there is right and wrong. It's kind of hard sometimes to explain why things are right and wrong, but according to the Bible, and you take it or leave it, the Bible says that God's written His law in our hearts, and that's why everybody can be held accountable. At the end of the day, there will be judgment. I know you guys have to go in 1 second, but so those people that have done screwed up things abroad, we can like stand together and like condemn them. But we all have done things that are wrong. I say that we should love my neighbor as myself. I don't always do that, you know? And we all have sin, right?
Yeah. I mean,
we'll call it what you want, right?
Yeah. So I always get questioned, you know, like how can you be an atheist and have morality?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but here's the thing, is if you're a Christian, on your deathbed, if you accept Jesus into your heart, all your sins are forgiven. I don't have that luxury. So it's, how I treat you as a person has to be something I'm comfortable with for the rest of my life. And a lot of times, yeah, there's people I've been, not very nice to and pleasant, and later on I regretted how I acted, and it could have been for various reasons, having a bad day, whatever, just tired, hangry. I think we all have had that where you just,
Yeah.
Right. And but if it's not, I guess, like, justify you, it's like murder. Murder's absolutely wrong. But if someone's trying to kill my family, I had no problem removing it. My grandfather had no problem killing Nazis in the Battle of the Bulge. And when he was dying, he did talk to my dad's minister, and just to get it off his chest. He didn't really talk about it because he came across camps. Obviously there's a lot of stuff you probably try to repress, but
what you hinted at, which is a person, the luxury of being able to accept Jesus on your deathbed and you die. What I would like to add to that a little bit is that grace transforms people. When you experience God's grace, and that what you highlighted, somebody.
I helped build a church.
Yeah, and somebody.
I grew up in the church.
But what's wrong with someone?
It was the hypocrisy I've seen within the church that made me be like, I don't see how God can exist and allow this. I don't see how God can exist and allow Christians in this country to do what they're doing to people, to persecute people. It's
objectively wrong, right?
From what I read in the Bible, that's not his teachings.
So I would agree that it is objectively wrong when Christians do those things. But I do have a standard I can justify. But I can justify my standard about how I know that's objectively wrong, regardless of what culture they're in. Yeah. I think without God, it becomes actually hard to be able to justify condemning them.
I don't think it does.
What's offensive is that when people are on their deathbed, they accept Christ. There's nothing they can do after that to make up for what they've done. Yeah. That's called sheer grace. But when someone experiences grace, if your dad told you your whole life, don't smoke cigarettes, and then you're just like, you know what, I'm going to go do it anyway. You're on your deathbed, you're dying. You can need a lung transplant to survive. The nurse comes in and says, is it Nate, right? Yeah. Nate, someone just died for you to give you their lungs. You get the surgery. What would you want to ask the nurse?
Nothing.
Wouldn't you want to know who did that? Who gave you their lungs, right? Imagine...
Maybe the family, but...
Imagine she says it was your own dad. It was the one that, that told you not to do it. But he's the one that was willing to die for you. One follow-up question, though. The main point of this whole question, if your dad did that for you, would you want to keep smoking cigarettes?
I don't think my dad would willingly give up his life to give me a lung transplant.
Indulge me, though. Indulge me. Let's say someone died for you, right? But you wouldn't want to keep smoking cigarettes. Come on.
No. I quit smoking like 10 years ago because I just got over it.
If that crazy situation was true, would you want to keep smoking cigarettes?
No. Why would I?
You'd probably be grateful, right?
If I got diagnosed with lung cancer, I'd quit smoking to begin with.
Yeah, you speak very highly of your dad. You sound like you really want to honor your dad. He seems incredible. I wish I could meet him. He seems incredible, and it sounds like because you honor your dad, you're grateful to him. If this crazy thing happened, your life would be changed. Your life would be changed. That's what free grace does. For Christians that are actually saved and born again, that they know Jesus died for them, they're going to live changed lives.
And I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
I'm happy for them that they have that.
Nate, thank you so much for your time. I really love this conversation.
Thank you.
You want to get the last word?
Be kind to people.
Hey, thanks so much for talking, man.
No problem, man.